I'm Jennifer Merchant, and I do alternative material jewelry. I have two different lines that I do. My most popular is layered acrylic pieces, and that's where I take sheets of acrylic and I layer it with imagery that I find in magazines and different printed materials. And then I also do a line of jewelry out of corian, the solid surface material. Well, I took some classes in high school, and I was originally going to go to college for fashion design, and after taking 2 jewelry classes, I decided to go to school for metals and jewelry at Savannah College of Art and Design. So I got a metalsmithing degree, and then when I graduated, I couldn't afford metals, and I didn't have all the equipment and tools, so I got creative and started working with different materials like acrylic and the corian, and just kind of experimented from there. What I like about working with acrylic is the immediacy of it. Instead of carving a wax, having it cast, then coming back and manipulating the metal, I get to carve something and it's done. Like, that's the finished piece. So I really like that about it. And obviously the acrylic is far different from metal in the way that it looks, and it is more of a sculptural kind of process. I graduated in 2005 from SCAD, so I kind of spent a good 5 years just experimenting. I waited tables, to pay my rent, and wasn't really sure what I was going to do or if I even liked jewelry anymore. And then finally, I sort of figured out, my process, and was able to reproduce it. At first, it was kind of volatile, and sometimes the pieces would pop apart, and I had a lot of hard times finding a clear resin to kind of glue the layers together. And so it took a while before I was comfortable enough to put it on the market and actually sell it to people, and have the craftsmanship be to a level that I was comfortable with. Well, basically, I started working these materials specifically because I was broke, because I didn't have tools and equipment, and I couldn't afford to invest in the kinds of things that I had worked with at school. So I think I got pretty ingenious about finding materials that are really inexpensive and just taking my time and my artistic vision to turn them into something that's really beautiful and unexpected. It's a risk, and it was definitely a risk to spend my time making $400 plastic bracelets. That was really hard for me to kind of come to terms with at first. And I think it's not until you get a few of the sales under your belt where you're like, all right, there's an audience for this. I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna make crazier pieces and bigger pieces, and just, I eventually do want to work with precious materials and incorporate those with the kind of materials that I work with now. And, I think you start where you can and work with what you've got and turn it into something cool and hopefully build from there. I think it's really amazing that we are moving back to a point where people of our generation are standing up and saying corporate things made in China with horrible conditions and paying, rock bottom prices for things and buying tons and tons of it and overconsumption. We're getting sick of it, and I think that's great. And I think that the organic and the handmade and the green and everything's kind of coming back around, and people are realizing the importance of it. And it may be a little more expensive, or it may seem a little bit harder to get your hands on right now, but people are realizing that it's worth it. You're supporting the local people, you're supporting your local economy instead of sending your money out to another side of the world to have something made so you can buy it for $5. People are like, oh, if I save my money, pay $25 for the same thing, we're supporting so many other people. So I think that that's just great. And I just kind of try to fit into that by making what I make and being, the local, and say that it is handmade and that it's handcrafted, and that it's special, and that, maybe we should start valuing things that are special more than things that are just commercial and easily accessible.